JR, we are now finally at the event. I'm going to gloss over some of it because I got to be honest with you, it's a fairly boring show. But one of the big moments is Kurt Angle's debut on pay-per-view defeating Sean Stasiak. Kurt comes out, he looks like $1 million. Did you know from the instant you saw him in the ring, this guy is a future top guy?
I probably knew it when I saw him train because, as I said earlier, he transitioned from amateur wrestling and the greatness he achieved there by winning a gold medal in '76 or '96. I'm sorry, and he everything was natural for him. So I felt like, and others concurred, that if we could keep him healthy and sane, he could be one of the greatest of all time. Because athletically speaking, and the physical contributions he's got to make to be great, he had. There's no jury out on that deal. So I
Right.
think probably in training, I think he trained. I think I had him train with Tom. I know Tom Pritchard, who does. Tom
Yes.
Pritchard's one of the greatest trainers in the history of pro wrestling. Period. And a good guy. So if you ever get the opportunity to work with Tom or train with Tom, whatever, uh, don't pass that up. But we
Yeah.
also had, I think we had Dory Jr. there at that time,
The
and
dojo.
yeah, and he had such a big reputation. And if your guys, and Kurt wasn't this way, because he wasn't a lifelong fan of pro wrestling. But if you get a recruit that's always been a fan, and they study a little bit, for God's sakes, put your phone down, please.
Yep.
And they respected Junior so much that he was a great coach, like Tom. So we had good coaches there. Uh, and this has not been talked about. Patterson would drop by every now and then, get in the ring, show a guy how to lock up the right way or things of that nature. Uh, the psychology. Here's why that didn't work. And you got to do this. And Patterson was a great teacher and finish guy and all that stuff. So he was the best, man. I miss Pat, and he always loved the Christmas season. And when I lived in Norwalk, and my and wife Jan was still flying as a flight attendant, I had a lot of nights where I didn't have anything to do.
Sure.
You know, and I go to Pat and Louie's house, and it's always right before dinner. They both were great cooks, great cooks. And I got to experiment with a lot of interesting food. Cabbage rolls,
Hmm.
homemade cabbage rolls. Well, shit, I'm from Oklahoma, man. We had cornbread and beans, but I don't know we ever had cabbage rolls. So things like that I got to experience. Uh, I remember sitting down in their basement, and they had a gay friend who was no, Louis did it. They had 4 or 5 of their gay friends over to their house, and we all walked down into the basement and turned this little light on. It had a string turn on, old school. And Louis gave me a haircut, and I think they may have played poker in that room. So we're sitting kind of at a round table, and everybody's surrounding the table. And I have my spot at the table, and I got my haircut. And I'm sitting there listening to all their stories, and they're laughing and they're having fun and all that. And Cowboy has always been outspoken on things along those lines, politics, religion, whatever. He's just right there.
Sure.
And so I said to those guys, man, what if the Cowboy could see me now? Sitting surrounded by 4 gays, and they were great to me. All good guys. I learned a lot about how you treat people.
Right.
I'm sure there's the gay kids in my high school, which had graduated 50 something people. I guess I'd say that somewhere along the way there was gay kids coming out of that little Westville, Oklahoma high school. But I had a whole different opinion of it. That's like Ernie and helped me understand the psychology of black people in his eyes, his opinion. And he's a black man, and he was very notable and very influential. You know, a lot of those big forums that they had back then, where they'd have some of these great black leaders get together. You know, Ernie was always in those groups with Muhammad Ali and all those cats. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
So yeah, I Pat would help train, and from time to time, he just got bored sitting in the office, and he'd
Sure.
come over there. He'd come, and the other thing, Pat could come over to the warehouse, the dojo thing, and smoke, and he couldn't smoke in the tower. That was a big no-no.
I believe
So
that.
I had Pat's old office, which is right adjacent to Vince's office. It was there were only two offices, as I understand it, that where you could open the windows in the whole building. Oh, how many floors it was? 7 or 8, 6? Hell, I don't know.
Mhm.
Big building, and so mine had I had a window, and the reason I had a window, Linda McMahon told me that Vince did that for Pat because he wanted Pat to be available 24/7. That included his office time, and that way he could sit in his office and smoke if he wanted to, and just open the window. And Pat told me the same story. He concurred. I just felt so uncomfortable smoking because if Vince walked in, or
Right.
which he did a lot, he'd walk to my office and sit down, and we'd talk about things. And it was good times, really good
Yeah.
times. But Pat was a real valuable asset to WWE in more ways than just what he's talked about most.
Sure.
He had a real good feel and hand for working with these younger guys.
Speaking
Really
of
good.
valuable assets, Steve Austin gets hit by a car in the middle of the pay-per-view and is taken out of the WWF, and he won't be back for another year. Steve's going to get his neck fixed. He's scheduled to be in the main event. Big Show is elevated then at that point to take his spot in the main event, the three-way. Would you have
Theoretically,
rather? I was going to say,
theoretically, getting prepared to take a spot.
right.
We'd already fucked up Big Show's entire presentation. That was
Was
mishandled from day
this
one.
right? This goal was to get him a new start, and here's a big babyface push because now Steve's going away. It was very hard to just wipe it clean and try to go that route, was it
What?
not?
Well, yeah, it's never going to work. Did it work? No, it didn't work.
No.
It didn't work at all. And that's not on Big Show. It's on the fact that
Right.
Austin was so down over that people didn't want to settle for anything with Steve. He and I had a long talk one day about him turning heel. And I said, because I knew he would relate to this. It was like, it'd be like John Wayne turning heel. He's in an army uniform, and he's out there in an isolated place, he and his fellow American soldiers, and all
Hmm.
of a sudden he turns on the whole group and cuts them down with a machine gun or something. Who's gonna believe that shit?
Yeah.
They don't. Who would accept that? They want John Wayne to be a hero. They,
Right.
meaning the audience, throw down boy. So fuck. It just makes sense. And we did that for him because I remember asking Mr. Vince, tell me what I'm missing here. I'm missing something because I don't get it. And I need to get it because I'm booking the towns, and I'm doing the payoffs and all this other shit. And he said, we owe it to Steve
Right.
to give it a try. We owe it to Steve because he was really wanting to be a heel.
Yeah.
And so all of a
How do you say
sudden,
no to him, right?
what's that? Yeah, you
How do you
don't.
say no to him? Can't.
You don't. It's as simple as that's why you write with a pencil, not a pen.
Right.
It's easy to correct your booking or amend it or change it or start over with it. But yeah, I think Steve was just he was headstrong and hell bent on making it work and being so successful that it would never go unnoticed. Well, it didn't go unnoticed, but people didn't invest passionately in that characterization of Stone Cold as they did before the turn. So, in other words, he was a much better babyface than a heel.
Yeah.